Holy cow, it's time for another Sacred Cow BBQ. Grab a plate if you're hungry for some truth. We're here to free our minds from our collective BS. Our belief systems programmed into us through a lifetime of indoctrination by school, church, and media. No subjects off limits. Why? Because it's all connected. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to another Sacred Cow BBQ. I'm your host, Patricia Aiken. I'm an average host with exceptional guests, and we're trying to avoid having a technical difficulty tonight, and so I'm going to dial my guests in now. So everybody cross your fingers that we don't have any problems here, and cross our fingers here. I'm adding them in. Let's see if we can do this without any problems. And Jer's standing by to hold my hand if need be. So it's my pleasure tonight on Sacred Cow BBQ to welcome back Thomas Michael Goodrich, the author of Hellstorm and many other incredible books, and the translator of Hellstorm, which is Alex van Heugten. I probably have mangled his name, but that's as close as I can get with a Dutch name. So, gentlemen, welcome to Sacred Cow BBQ.
Hi, Patricia.
Well, thanks for me on.
Yeah, and Alex is calling us in from Colombia. He lives in Chile. And so, Thomas, Michael, we're going to go with Mike tonight, okay? Is that good with you?
That works for me.
Okay, great. Mike, how did you meet Alex? And what got you folks to collaborate on the translation of Hellstorm?
Gee, that's asking me to go back further than my memory probably can. I think Alex contacted me after he had read the book or heard of the book. And since he's fluent in several languages, including Spanish, Alex said, how about it? Can I translate this? And I said, yeah, you go for it, bucko, because I'd like to see it in every language on earth. And so Alex, being the true patriot that he is, he went to work on that sucker, and we've got a book now, a book in Spanish on Hellstorm. Plus there's a German and a French and a Portuguese, but Alex did the Spanish. And Alex now is working on the Dutch. That's Alex's native tongue. So this should be done with neatness and dispatch in probably a few months. But I think that's how we met, wasn't it, Alex?
Yes, I contacted you, and first time we Skyped, remember I was in Lima just like 2 years ago, and soon as I mentioned, okay, we talked about me translating your book, and just from the same second, there was an earthquake starting. I think there was symbolic.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's an earth-shaking concept.
I know. It's like unbelievable. As soon as I mentioned the word translating your book, the whole table started shaking, and yeah, it's unbelievable. So, yeah.
Well, Mike, for people that don't know Hellstorm, and I can't imagine any of the listeners not knowing Hellstorm, but most people are familiar with the video that Kyle Hunt made from your work. And, and I have to say, I've read some of your books, but I can't read this one.
Yeah, that's understandable. There's been quite a bit said about the book, about its graphic nature, its content, and how terrible it is to read this thing. I'll tell you what, Kyle Hunt did a great service for the world by putting it into film, putting it into a video, because there are so many people like yourself, Patricia, that quite honestly don't have the stomach for a book of this nature. This book was written deliberately, as graphically as it possibly could be written, for a very good reason. I wanted everybody on earth to understand just exactly what the German people suffered through during the last year and the first two years after the war, so-called peace. I want everybody to know what they went through the terror bombings, the fire bombings, the torture, the rapes, the millions and millions of rapes on both sides, not just the Red Army raping German women on the east, but the American and British Army raping German women on the west. I wanted them to know what it was like. I wanted right down to the final detail. It's as simple as this. I felt a very strong kinship with these people. And I told myself, look, if I had been raped to death, or if I'd seen my child killed in front of my eyes in a firestorm, or if I had been tortured to death in a Jewish concentration camp, as so many thousands of Germans were, I would want people in the future that's us, the readers now, to know exactly how I died down to the last detail. I don't want them to leave anything out. And so that's the premise I worked under. I didn't leave anything out. I didn't sugarcoat anything, because I think it's a disservice to just say, oh, they were killed in a bombing raid, or they were tortured to death, or that they died from rape. No. I want people to know exactly what that entails, what that really means. And so, yes, there are people like yourself, bless your sweetheart, who just simply don't have the stomach for something like that, and I understand it. Alex and I, quite honestly, I don't know about Alex, I didn't have the stomach for it either, but I forced myself to do it. In fact, as you know, perhaps the book is dedicated to the voiceless victims of the world's worst war, those people who never had a chance to say anything, or those people who never left any written account that I could have actually found to tell their story. Millions of people died, and nobody will ever know about it. And so this book is dedicated to those folks. But Alex, what was your feeling when you were translating word by word?
Well, first I want to get back to why you mentioned that you said that I read your book, but I didn't even read a single word of it. But the thing was, I've heard you like 4 times on Spingola that year, 2013, something like that, and I just knew I have to translate this. So I started doing it, but it's so hard to digest. I mean, each chapter, and especially when you get to chapter 4, 5. No, actually, all chapters. I mean, it's not just work, but it gets to you as well. It becomes, as I said before, an interview. It becomes part of you, and it changes you as well, because you cannot, before and after reading Hellstorm, you're like a different person. You're like the pre-Hellstorm person you are, and then you change after that.
Right. It's almost like you've taken on a psychic abuse.
Yeah, but also I knew it's something I had to do. When I heard about the atrocity, I said, I want people to know about this. So, and before that, I want to mention that a year earlier, I spoke with Andrew Carrington Hitchcock, and I translated Synagogue of Satan as well in Spanish. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Alex, I got to ask you this. You're a first-time guest here. I always say, how did you wake up to the thing that the evil Nazi story was complete bunk?
Well, it's a long story. I mean, 10 years ago, let's say 10 years ago, I was still like an idiot. I thought, like Jews were like us, they're like different, that we all have the Old Testament and all that. And Hitler was probably the second worst person after Stalin. I was a typical brainwashed Dutch guy. And then, like in 2010, I started, listening to Spingola. Of course, I did my Alex Jones, David Icke, all that stuff.
Right. You go through the channels, right? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I Oracle Broadcasting, and then The Ugly Truth. And I ended up actually at Eurofog Radio, which I still like a lot. Check out Renegade and all that. So, yeah, what point did you wake up? I mean, there's so many interviews that you heard, and then I don't think there was a specific morning you said, oh, now I'm going to do something. But every time it's like, you have got to be kidding. Are they behind this as well? It's every day. It's like a new surprise to you. So I can't really say the date, but around 2014, I said, no, I've had enough. Hey, another thing is, so but when I called you, Tom, in 2014, but this is like 2 years ago. Sometimes I read newspapers just to check them. I cannot read them because, it's just they're so obvious. But from the town I used to grow up in, we had these German bunkers like a kilometer away from where I used to grow up. So, and now in this newspaper, they said they're going to do these bunkers up, like make museums out of them. So people could never forget the German terror. Can you believe that? Only for that reason, I'm determined to do Hellstorm in Dutch as well, because they're going to get away with that. They tried to get away with it, and the Dutch people just still, they want us to sob about some little twat in an attic in Amsterdam, and Frank, who didn't even write or his diary, your father did, and with a ballpoint pen and all that.
Right.
And that's what people believe now, and we have to change that.
You know, it's
because
funny.
we're living a lie.
A good friend of mine who's been here on the show before, he goes by the name Dutchman, as a matter of fact. And his daughter had a pen pal or something like that in Holland lately. And they've been planning. I haven't talked to them. They had planned to go there for Christmas and visit. And, of course, what should we do when we get there? And all this family could tell them, oh, you have to go to the Holocaust Museum.
Unbelievable.
And they're like, oh, please. Oh.
Yeah. And it's like this. I've been to Amsterdam many times. I've never gone to the Anne Frank so-called Holocaust Museum, the house, whatever, the attic, because I simply do not believe in that BS. I can't comment enough on Anne Frank to intelligently make a statement on it, except that when I'm in Amsterdam, I want to do other things than soak up more Jewish propaganda. And and Alex, by the way, his progress from being a typical deluded mind, a controlled Dutch person, as almost everyone in Holland is, to where he's at right now. It just shows it. It shows that despite any amount of propaganda, that there's still, if you've got the genetic wherewithal to break through and seek out with your curiosity the truth. Well, Alex is a great example of that. You will do it.
Yeah. Well, here's my question, because, we have a limited group of people, but more and more people today are waking up, and that's why they've had to make this denier video. Obviously, with Dennis Wise's The Greatest Story Never Told, Hellstorm, Mike King's great stuff at Tomato Bubble, people are waking up, and they're trying to put a lid on this.
Yeah, well, that film's going to backfire. I can guarantee you that.
What do you mean by that, Alex?
Because people are going to look it up.
Yeah, that's right.
and
the bad move on their part. Yeah.
Exactly. So another, because I think Tom and I have like a little project. I have a website, but I can do FL with websites. So we have some Swedish ladies who's going to launch my simple website. On that website, I've got, besides the Synagogue of Satan, and maybe we're going to put like the first few chapters in Hellstorm on it in Spanish as well. But I've got like 31 articles. John Kaminski, Sheldon Embry, Mike King, of course, Eustace Mullins, because the site is called mullins.cl.
Wonderful.
And so
I feel like a cheerleader sitting here tonight. I'm so excited to be talking with you folks. I'm sorry. Pardon my enthusiasm, but you're mentioning people that I have found along the way, and that have really enlightened me about all this. So I'm so excited to hear that you're putting that out in different languages and their work. So, I talked to Eustace one time a few years ago. It was pretty cool. Oops, we just lost Alex. I better get him back. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, you talk while I get him back, please. Thanks.
Okay, I will. Yes, it's exciting. We're living in very exciting times. As Alex pointed out, there is so much information out there. And why? It's because of the internet. It's because of communications, the breakthrough in communications. One of us is in Colombia right now. One of us is in, Patricia, I don't even know where you're at. But,
I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm in Nebraska.
Oh, really? I'm in Florida. So, we're going around at least the New World here, the North America and South America. And this is a tsunami. It's very difficult to keep this tsunami down, and no one is going to keep it down. And that's what's so exciting about this, is that never has freedom of information been so accessible as right now. We're all reaching out for the truth because we've been lied to all of our lives. We know that. And so you better believe this is exciting stuff, and we're winning. That's the good news. We're winning. 20 years ago, Patricia wouldn't have been on here, I'm sure, or would Mike, me, and probably Alex would. Alex would be very happy back in Holland, a multicultural paradise of Holland. But we have spread our communication. Yes, it's all different now. And I cannot wait. It's going to happen. And the good news is I'm an old geezer. You guys are still fairly young. It's probably still going to happen in my lifetime. I plan on living to see it. So I am extremely positive about all this. But anyway, that's my current uptake on what's going on right now in the world. We're just, we're winning. I see it. I feel it. I sense it. I've been around a long time. I know what the bad old days look like when you used to send off flyers. Politically charged flyers to people after you put a stamp on it.
Right, right.
And then
the fax networks. Those were something.
Yeah, then the fax came along and all that. But no, this is really exciting stuff. And Alex, he's a trooper. He's a patriot. And here's something else. Never before has the white world been so cohesive. We are coming together now. We are finally coming together. We're being besieged on all sides by the Jewish media, the Jewish power grid in the world, and of course the invasion that is made accessible by the Jewish power grid. But we're all being invaded, and now we're all hunkering down and circling our wagons. That's a mighty development. And Alex is just having all kinds of trouble in with that thing. You there?
Well, I'm back. Yeah.
Is it going to make it?
I don't know. Sorry?
Is it going to make it tonight?
We'll have to find out and see. I think so, yeah.
Here we go. Can I tell you folks, welcome back, Alex. Can I tell you folks a quick story? A Yom Kippur story?
Please.
Well, this week's Stampede News, that what we put out, we expanded from 8 pages to 12 pages this week. And so since it's the Jewish High Holy Days this month, I focused on that editorially. The owner of the paper put in his article was, mentioned the Kol Nidra and how that was, and saying that the market was going to drop today because the Jews control the meat packing industry. They control the meat industry now. It's unbelievable. They put all the white cowboy packers out of business through regulations and so they have a monopoly now. It's very bad. So even though Hamburg, ground beef should be maybe 85 cents, $1.25 a pound. It's still $2.25 for the cheap stuff and $5 a pound for the other. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy and they are laughing all the way to the bank. And so we hit the Yom Kippur, and I did it using Jewish sources. Actually, Blackbird 9, I'm sure you know him, Frederick C. Blackburn, he wrote one article that he had put in a newspaper. I had another one by Israel Cohen saying how miscegenation was how they were going to take over the world, and what have you, the United States. And so, it was I thought it was a pretty good issue. And so that came out on Monday, and Wednesday morning, Yom Kippur, we got up, or I got up at the ranch, and Rudy's ranch is named the Swastika Ranch, and we usually fly the German National Socialist flag, the swastika flag, the Gadsden flag, and the rebel flag. So, but the flags are down right now, but still it's the Swastika Ranch, and there's a sign, etched in stone that's held up by these two posts. And we got up Wednesday morning to that sign being smashed in two and on the ground. And our paper's been getting stolen here the last couple of nights and stuff. It's just, so I guess we hit a nerve.
If they're not doing things like that to you or cussing you out or trying to destroy you, I guess you're not over the target. And so it's nice to know that those bombs are actually landing, because believe me, they don't pay attention to people who are not doing anything.
That's right. That's
good.
Totally right.
In a way, they're going to need a lot more of their the people who do these dirty tricks like that, because we are growing faster than they're growing. I'm going to tell you that. I don't think they can keep paying people enough, because it's like this Trump phenomenon right now in America. Alex, you've been reading about it, I suppose. This is a revolution. No, we're not shooting people yet, but it's still a revolution. It's the beginning of a revolt. And nobody knows right now where it's going to take us, but we are just totally fed up with this kind of crap. We're fed up with people sneaking around. I watched something tonight, something it must be seen by every American. It's during the primaries. It is actual videotape in several states in America of women, white women, taking Donald Trump's ballots that have been cast for him and shredding them while somebody watches the door and make sure nobody else is coming in to vote. And this happens in Illinois and Florida and other places throughout America. These women are watching just like thieves or burglars. You could see their looks. And that was taken away from Donald Trump, and he still won the primary. Now, you know damn good and well that's in process. That's going to be in place for the election coming up in November. We have to do something about this, even if it takes somebody armed going in every voting place in America, because that's the only way Hillary Clinton is going to win this election is by fraud, by dead bodies voting, and by people shredding Donald Trump votes. Because let's put it this way, they can talk all they want about Hillary leading in the polls. That is bogus BS. Hillary does not have the numbers. Hillary does not have the people. She does not have the votes. I have not seen a single Hillary for president bumper sticker or a yard sign, or I don't even know anyone who is for Hillary. On the other hand, I have seen hundreds of stickers, bumper stickers, yard signs. People just check out any medium, any social medium website, and look what the people are saying on there. Now, they might try to pass that off as though Hillary is ahead in the polls or that she will win this election. I'm going to tell you what, they're going to have a big-time problem on their hands, because Americans like myself, we see, we hear, we know. We can tell you right now, she's not got the numbers. She's the most loathed candidate ever to run for president in American history. The most loathed. People on all sides hate her. Hate the criminality of the Clintons and the beastly sexual leg-humping attitude of Bill Clinton while he was in office. This isn't going to fly. I'm going to tell you what, Patricia. Plus, if we ever get a whiff that they're burning our votes and shredding them and dead bodies voting, then it's going to be a very difficult thing.
Well, they've already shown in Ohio that there were big ballot boxes all found already marked for Hillary. So they've already started that fraud. But you know, Mike, what kind of surprises me about the whole thing is that, you know, as much as I like a lot of stuff that Trump says, I look at who's running his campaign. It's all Jews.
I agree.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I won't say it's all Jewish, but let me say this. Who else do we have? Do you want Hillary to win this election?
He's definitely, it's definitely, you know, he's definitely the tallest of the midgets. There's no doubt about it. There. Not that I have a lot of hope for, you know, the two-party system. I really think that Republicans and Democrats are just two sides of the same bird, you know, same communist bird.
Yeah, the good news is Trump is not a Republican. That's what he started out as. Now, they abandoned ship like rats, these lousy rats, led by a rat-face-looking character, that Paul Ryan of Wisconsin or wherever he's from, that loser. But, Patricia, I agree with you. Donald Trump's not perfect. In fact, he's only saying a few things that I really care about. Yeah. I cannot stand his approach to Israel. That's basically, but I do. There is two things that I really care about that Donald Trump's talking about. Number one is building that damn wall, and building it very high, and kicking out everybody who's here and never letting them back in again unless we shoot them dead at the wall. And number two, being a man of power, he sees eye to eye to Vladimir Putin. World War III is our greatest threat right now, World War III. Hillary Clinton, as Putin made clear, that's the worst person we could have with our finger on the trigger.
Oh, yeah.
She's erratic. She's unstable. She's unstable. She's mentally deficient. She's going fast. And so
morally bankrupt, mentally deficient.
Don Trump in the White House will at least give us 4 years and perhaps 8, no doubt. Time to work, time to plan,
a little
time
reprieve.
To
I agree. I think we could have a little reprieve with Trump. No, I think so.
Yes, but Hillary, that's like suicide now.
Yeah, it is. Alex, let me ask you something. How many people in your circle, people that you interact with on a daily basis, you know, wherever you are in South America, especially when you're at home in Chile, are awake like you are? How many people?
Not many. That's why I decided to translate all these things because they don't have this information. It's all, we take it for granted that we speak English, but they, of course, cannot read Hellstorm or cannot read Synagogue of Satan or those articles. And well, not many people. And I've also lost, I can't say really lost friends, but I know people are talking behind my back now. I used to be a nice guy, but he went crackpot, you know.
He's an anti-Semite now.
I had the same last week. I was in Mexico and there was a bunch of Germans. And out of one of these guys was out of Dresden, and he came from Dresden. And I said, hey, talk, you know, what I was, and they were a lot. You see, yeah, but the Nazis were bad as well. But anyway, I got my email, so if you're interested, I can send you this book. But then I was stupid because I'm sometimes very undiplomatic, and the blunt touch guy arose when they were talking about the elections and all that. And someone mentioned Barack Obama. He should stay on. What did these Germans say that? I mean, you're talking about. That's what I said. You're talking about this Jewish homosexual Marxist. What else? Jews and black Jewish homosexual Marxist, and they all looked at me like I was on fire. So what do you mean? I said, oh, the guy who went 180 8 years ago, like in 2008. And in the end, I should not have said that because now I'm the crackpot, and they of course they're not going to send me the mail and read Hellstorm. So sometimes you have to really be careful of where you start because people even think Hillary is the solution. I mean, and where do you wake these people up? So if you give them an information overload, they're not going to come to the information. You know what I mean? So
I do. It's a total tightrope that you have to walk with people. And I guess I keep telling myself that my sheep hear my voice. And so even in a small town like this, I have conversations with people and stuff. And of course, the paper has a reputation. So I'm just slowly winning people over here. And there's a couple people that actually come in and talk with me and things like that. So I'm chipping away at it. But I know what you mean. It's very hard to be diplomatic. And there's some people you just have to say, we're not going to get them all. We're not
or another Bible verse, shake the dust of your feet and move on. I mean, that's what you have to do. Because if you go like, hey, sometimes I think, what have I gotten into? But I cannot stop. I mean, once you evolve from a caterpillar to a butterfly, you cannot become a caterpillar again, you know?
Oh, that's a great expression. That's very good.
Yeah, and some people stay. Yeah, and that's just. So yeah, you have to be diplomatic, which I'm not so much. So.
Guys, what you're doing, yes, I agree with you, Alex, with his translations, Patricia with her podcast, website, whatever this is, radio station. It's good that we try to reach out certain people, but we're never going to get all of them. We're not ever going to get most of them either. It's always been that way. The sheep, the cattle have always been out of pasture, have refused to pay any attention. That's been going on forever. But when for instance, Alex, with his translations, that's going to move a few people. Now, how far will it move them, though? Will it ever cause them to become radicalized, militant? I don't know.
No, it's going to move a lot further than when I did not translate anything. That's how I look at it. If I even wake up 20 people, that's 20 people who would not have woken up. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Before they cut me off, I also translated Andrew's article, the Holocaust, Holocaust, you'll be the judge, you know, if it's a Holocaust or Holocaust. And I did translate that, and I was at my work. From my end, we worked with 3 people. In the other party, they had like younger people, like kids that were like 24, 25. And one of them read the article, and one of the colleagues, he chipped in, he said, yeah, but we know that's bullshit. And I thought, how does this guy know? He's 24 years old from Chile. And he already knew that this whole Holocaust is BS. So the internet is WAPA. I mean, yeah, unbelievable. I thought they were all going to be amazed at this article. But one guy said, no, it's BS. I know that. So, hey, internet is great, eh?
It's not a numbers game, and it never has been. You know, the American Revolution, people all say, was just only 3%, actually even less than 3% were actually active in the revolution. So it's not going to be a majority, and that's why the Jews are so worried. They should look at our small numbers and just go, oh, what the heck, let them rant and rave. No, I mean, they know that it doesn't take, it's that tireless minority.
Absolutely,
Setting
Patricia,
brush
you're
fires
right.
of freedom in the minds of men,
Yes, you're right. It's that hardcore, that central essence of a revolution. It's not the millions who are mildly interested or who are sitting on fence posts and never will come off that fence post. It's this hard, strong core of people that are determined. I think I'm talking to two of them right now also. And you're talking to one yourself too. It's good that you guys try to reach people. On the other hand, I pretty much am of the opinion, the persuasion that leave them alone. If they cannot make a single finger tap on their computer to find the truth, then there's nothing we can do with books or radio stations that can ever change their mind. In other words, it's all there. All they have to do is show an ounce of curiosity, of strength, of willpower. And what I'm getting at is, yes, those who seek out Alex's translations or your radio station and query you about things, yes, feed that knowledge, feed that curiosity. But the others, the ones the family, the friends, I've been through that myself. I've tried to show people the truth, and they refused, and I give up. Finally, now I don't even bother with those people because, it doesn't take a lot of creativity or energy or strength to make a finger tap on that mouse to learn the truth. And
a friend of mine has an expression: a man convinced against his will is still of the same opinion.
That's very good. Yes, it is. So with that said, I believe more in strengthening our own self, our brothers and our sisters in this fight, in however ways it's possible. I believe in self-improvement, physically, mentally, spiritually, economically, financially. I was talking to a gentleman the other day. I won't name who it is, and I won't even tell you what he does, except he's in the top 1% of his profession. I can tell you that. He's that good. But he's come to our side. He's world famous. He has come over to our side, and he's asking me for ideas and help, how he can do this. And I said, well, number one, keep your anonymity. We don't need any poor individuals, whatever profession he's in. We don't need any of those poor people. We need you rich. You do what you have to do. This is a guerrilla war. It's a guerrilla war in every sense of the word right now. It's a low intensity war, but we're fighting. So you keep making the dough, and when you find a place to send that dough, to spend that dough, you do that. That's one way of fighting, and you continue to do the best you possibly can in your profession.
Oh yeah, stay anonymous, definitely.
Yes, and I think he gets that. And that's what everybody listening right now should also do. It doesn't do anybody any good for you to come out on the street corner, bare your chest, and say, hey, I'm a white nationalist. That's not going to be anything because your family will probably leave you because you've lost your job. You're going to be vilified, denigrated. You might end up living under a bridge. No, don't come out with a flaming proclamation of who I am. Keep your own counsel. Keep doing what you're doing. Fight that low-grade guerrilla war. And give. When you have money, give. And if you can, without giving away your name, give your talent. Give it anonymously. Do whatever you can. But I'm going to tell you what, doing nothing, just listening merely to radio stations or reading a book or two, that's not good enough. We're in a fight now, and it's the fight to the death. Our enemy knows that. We know that. And so you've just got to come on over to us. And I think many people listening to you have already made their mind on that, Patricia. You're a pretty feisty gal, I got to tell you. You are very feisty.
Yeah, this is no coffee today, man. You see how I am with coffee.
Yeah.
Alex is back with us. Listen, everyone, I got to do my host duties here and say you're listening to Sacred Cow BBQ on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. We are listener and volunteer supported. Everybody I know that works here is a volunteer. And so we'd like to ask you, like Mike was just saying, if there's some extra funds, whether it's $5 or $500, we don't care. Help keep the station going. And you can make a donation at freedomslips.com. You can buy some of the cool stuff, get the archives, do whatever you can to support the station. it doesn't take much to keep us around. If everybody kind of pitched in, I wouldn't make these silly announcements. So, but we appreciate everyone that gives. Thank you so much. We appreciate what you do to stay on the air. Oh, we just had a comment from Mr. John Kaminski. Should I dial John in to this conversation?
Go for it.
All right. We'll bring John in. How nice. Let's see if he wants to. I'm going to wait and see. John, can we bring you in, say yay or nay? Because I know you know these folks. He hasn't said anything yet. Hold on. He's being shy now. Well, I'll let him decide because I know it's late where he is too. So, but one thing about what you're doing, the things that you're translating, Alex, this is amazing because everybody I know in the Western world that's awake is an English speaker. So to be able to put this out in Dutch and Spanish and whatever else, it's amazing. Oh, okay, Alex is down. It's back again.
Oh, I'm gone. No.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I think you're back now, though, Alex. Are you back?
Well, I forgot to tell you, I also translated the Synagogue of Satan in Dutch. I still have it somewhere. So, hey, the reason also, of course, anytime Tom asks me to be on the program, I just say yes. Not if I want to, but it's my duty. Okay, I'm not a radio person. But
I know you're just an attention hound. Admit it. Nobody's into radio for their own aggrandizement.
Here I am.
Because we feel obligated to tell people.
Although, Alex, are you back?
I just get to bring in John Kaminski, and so say hello to everyone tonight, John.
Got it.
Okay.
Ooh.
There we go.
Hello, Alex. Hello, Mike.
Hey, John.
Hey, John.
I am enjoying listening to you. I feel like I'm with old friends, and it's really a sacred privilege to do what we do, and you tell that to other people who aren't privy to some of the information that we see, and they think you're crazy, and it's really hard to bring in new people, but that's the task. We need to enlarge our troops, and so we need basic information, and of course Hellstorm is about as basic as you can get on the point that we're trying to make. And so I'm very pleased and privileged to be able to join this conversation.
Well, I couldn't believe. I'm so proud that you were listening, John. I appreciate all the support that you give me, and you've been one of the people that's helped enlighten me. So,
John had a big role in sending me down my path. Let me tell you that straight up. Sometime after the book was published, that is Hellstorm, I was messing around. In fact, Deanna Angola asked me to be on a program. That was the first alternative right station I was on. But John, I listened to several broadcasts with John on it, and I was just extremely impressed by his forthright nature, how he was unambiguous, how he called a spade with no fear, no trepidation. I thought, I hadn't heard anybody talk like that. And I've got to tell you, John, for better or worse, I tried to emulate you, tried to actually adhere to some of your stronger points. I thought that's very effective. And I don't think I've done nearly as well as you, but you might say that I'm a spinoff. I'm a spinoff.
I don't know about that, Mike. This is a blockbuster you've done here. It's like it's all over the world. People are talking about it everywhere, and that's a wonderful thing. It's one of the really best penetrations into this bubble that's been put up of Holocaust propaganda that people just accept out of hand. And when you try to tell them something different about it, they look at you like, you better get a shot of Thorazine.
I quit my Thorazine weeks ago, John.
I'm finding, maybe it's just the circles I run in, but I'm finding there's less and less resistance to the truth. Everywhere I go, the people I talk to, and I'm not talking about alt-right white nationalists. I'm talking about pretty standard, ordinary folks out there.
Mainstream.
Yes, the times in America have changed so radically in the last couple of years that now we've got people, John, that It's unbelievable the number of people who not only understand what we're saying, but are actually coming to us. I mean, I'm serious. As a heart attack right now, it's got everything to do with disenfranchisement that we've gone through, this inability to control our own destiny, and people feel that. John and I live fairly close together. In fact, I could be at John's place within a half an hour. That's how close we are. But we know what we're talking about here in Florida, especially. Hey, by the way, I've got to ask you, John, and this may be a little off the subject, but Alex, bear with us a bit. Is Trump going to win Florida? That's a question to you, John.
I wanted to interrupt you, Mike, to point out we have no shot at stopping a fixed election.
Yeah. No
shot whatsoever. So all of this palaver that's going on with these two candidates, it's not what's happening. We fail to break through to that higher level of people realizing that we've tried to tell them we're controlled by a foreign power. This is not Americans who are running things.
Yeah.
And their plans for us are the same as the plans they have for all of those people overseas who they're attacking with drones, who fail to adhere to the standard New World Order program. And we're rubbing out those countries one by one, or actually there's two or three at a time they do. But on the home front, we're seeking out people who insist that they live in a free country, and they're putting them in jail. And it's like, it's an avalanche of, this is a bad metaphor, it's an avalanche of our rights disappearing. You know, Patricia, I have so much admiration for her. She has stuck her nose into the situation in Oregon where all of those people standing on principle have been thrown in jail and abused. This is like Solzhenitsyn should be here to write this, and yet we're all involved in writing this story. And I think nobody quite realizes that the Bundy situation goes into the history books as a turning point in American activity, because there's no more pretense that we have the right to say what we want to say. If we offend the powers that be, they're not going to be prosecuted, and we're going to be, our lives are going to be destroyed by the things that they can throw at us.
You know, I want to ask Alex a question here, because here on Main Street, after Rudy wrote an article saying what freedoms have the veterans secured for us, you know, the American Legion put up, say, oh, thank you, veterans, because of you, we have our rights. And like, obviously we don't have free speech because they, hammered the sign. And also, they take away the paper, what the Bundys are going through. How was the American military perceived in South America in the circles that you run in, Alex?
Well, not good, because I also work, I've been doing this for a few years, and people talk about Pinochet, in a negative way. I said Kissinger, the Kissinger group. And they look at me like, Kissinger. So, of course, the Americans and the Chilean people, at least them, they are so far more Jew-wise than of course, the Dutch people. But no, they're not well perceived, the Americans. Although for the business people, yes, but it's a small group. But in Chile, if you want to spoil any birthday party, still today, you just mention Pinochet and Allende, and there's always a division.
Alex, I got a question for
you. Communist or whatever, but Pinochet was, of course, Kissinger. So,
well,
again,
that was who was behind Pinochet was Kissinger.
Of course.
Oh, of course. Well, I think so. And Hillary says Kissinger is her go-to guy. Isn't that lovely?
I wouldn't expect anything else. Yeah,
that's right. Talmudic Jew. John, you had a question for Alex.
Alex,
Yeah.
the Mapuches just rose up. What was that about?
Yeah, I didn't see the YouTube film. But the thing is, in Chile, every time the Mapuche do something, and I remember 4 years ago they had this terrorist law against them, so the press is really against them. But I sorry, I did not see that film yet, but the YouTube link you sent me. But
okay,
yeah,
I'm on their side.
You're on their side, but the Mapuches massacred the German immigrants there in the Lake District, did they not, Alex? Twice.
Yeah, of course.
I wish they'd take out all the Israelis.
Hold on, what'd you say, Alex?
Well, in the 1870s, that's when the Chilean government had all this land in the south, and they wanted to do something, and thank God they did that. So they gave all the northern Germans land in the south, and then in 1875 came the Austrians. So still, basically, the south is run and owned by white people, and the land at least. And there's still like 600,000 German people, pure German people in southern Chile. But of course, they would have slaughtered a few families. So when it's the same as the Indians but not as bad probably, but that happens if people move in. But of course, people are waking up to the Jewish influences in southern Chile as well. That's one of the reasons. Also, I need to translate these books because they're buying a lot of land, and they already have. Some Chilean friend of mine told me they already have thermal baths that normal people cannot get in because they bought the land. It's only for Jews.
Oh,
and that pisses people off.
That's terrible. I love terme.
Of course, no, and the German people. That's why I want the Synagogue of Satan and Hellstorm to be read by all these German immigrants, and then they will have a good look on a view on life,
Do you find with the German people there, Alex? We've only got a couple more minutes. When I meet someone here and I say, "Oh, what's your heritage?" or "What's your ancestry?" to them, and people say, "Oh, German," and they say it so apologetically. They say, "Oh, German," and I go, "German? They're the backbone of America.
Oh.
America wouldn't be America without the German influence." And they kind of brighten up a little bit. They're so guilty, from all this propaganda. They have such angst about being German. Do you find that?
No, on the opposite. They're very proud of being German.
Ah, excellent.
They don't speak the German language. So I've spoken many times to people. Actually, I was at a job in Santiago, and someone called my name, Alex, and he approached me. And as soon as he was in front of me, I saw that I did not know the guy, but he thought I was some Chilean I knew in the south as well. So that's how small the world is. And he was also from northern Germany. So there's lots of German descent people out there.
Excellent. Mike, we're coming up on a break in about 2 minutes.
Okay. All I can say is we went through our these muchachos. I hadn't heard of this, Patricia, this massacre of Germans that you're talking about. But we just went through the, what is it called here in America? The Indigenous Peoples Day, otherwise known as Columbus Day here in America. And I just saw some American Indians were blocking a street in Reno, Nevada, just the other day for Indigenous Peoples Day, actually blocking the street, I'm sure without any license to do so. But a couple of white guys came by in the pickup truck, and they started beating on the truck and threatening to pull them out because the white guys wanted to go through the road there. The white guys stopped, and suddenly, the crowd's getting bigger and more savage, and they just took off, ran over a couple of people. And what were they supposed to do? These two white guys in that truck. Now, I'm sure they're going to be turned into the greatest Indian-hating racists in America as a result, but let's reverse everything. Let's just say that's a couple of Indians minding their manners, and a mob of whites attack them in the truck, threaten to pull them out. The Indians drive off, run over a couple of white people. Well, that's going to be very just. That's going to be a justified act. That's how roles will be reversed. That's how this situation works in America right now. Black Lives Matter is a great example of that, too. It's shooting cops, killing cops. But anyway, No, I'm sure a lot of Americans have moved to Chile because it's certainly a better climate than it is here in this country.
Yeah, a smaller military. A poorer government has a smaller military. Do you find that, Alex?
Well, yeah, of course, but also the average policeman is still a very polite person. You know, it's not that the.
You're kidding me. John, let's pack our bags. Let's go.
Oh, I've always wanted to go there, actually. I'm a little afraid of the earthquakes, but it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, how were you in the last earthquake? There was an earthquake, Alex, only about 6 months ago. Oh, we lost Alex again. We'll get him back, everybody, and have
there's always earthquakes there's always earthquakes in Chile.
Well, hey, what's a few earthquakes,
No.
I'll tell you what, a few earthquakes. I was in one once in Greece. It'll scare the holy hell out of you.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody,
really
you're listening to Sacred Cow BBQ. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us.
Down here. As far as up there goes, I'm not really sure what he has planned for that.
Okay. All right. Great. John, I know you've been following this case very closely too. Do you have a question for Eric before he has to go?
Where is he calling from?
He's calling from the CCA, the private prison in Pahrump, Nevada, where the Bundy defendants are being held.
And how long has he been there?
7 months.
And what did he do to earn this?
Luck of the draw. Luck of the draw. Out of thousands of people, he happened to be one that they have a photograph of him laying down on a bridge, looking through his sights on his, just to see what was going on when they were threatening to shoot people.
And he was just there for 1 day.
Defensive posturing, sir.
Defensive posturing.
Wow.
Yeah. It's something.
We'll be okay, though. I got half a minute left here. And I got half a minute here left.
Your time is up.
Okay, well, that was Eric Parker, everybody. Gentlemen, thank you so much for giving Eric time. He was going to come on at 9:30. I guess I just have to take his call whenever he can get through, so I appreciate you hanging in for this.
It's a horrible story.
Yeah.
He just was an incidental observer in that whole thing, and he got dragged into it because America has turned into the same situation that existed in the Soviet Union.
Oh, it is. This is Stalin-esque America.
It really is, and most people don't realize it. Most people are so damaged, so prevented from even asking questions because of the way they've been poisoned with the bad food and medicine. And it's like they have no idea that their country is being run by foreign aliens who are intent on bringing more of their kind into the country to facilitate their creation of a total police state.
Yeah, they've got people like Jerry DeLamus, who wasn't even at the standoff. He showed up about a week later, went down, talked to the sheriff, said, Cleven says, if you're going to arrest him, let him know he'll turn himself in, things like that. He didn't have anything. And they pressured him and said, if you don't take a plea, we're going to pick up all the men that were with you, including his son.
Was that the guy from New Hampshire?
That's the guy from New Hampshire. He's Trump's campaign manager in New Hampshire, and a sheriff's candidate.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable Stalin-esque America.
And because of the newspapers, the Oregonian in particular, the entire population is thinking that these people are actually criminals and the government is saving them from criminals.
I know it's absolutely insane, but hopefully the jury got an earful last week and finishing up. They may be done as early as Friday. This may go to the jury as early as Friday in the Oregon case.
What's the jury look like?
It's more women than men. I think it's more women than men, which is bad. But we'll see. The jury's waking up. They were going to sleep on the prosecution, and then when the defense got up, they perked up and started listening again. So it's and they seem to be catching on that the feds have been coaching the government's witnesses from there in the courtroom with hand signals and nonverbal communication. So some of the jurors have picked up on that, and so we'll see. Yeah, I'm hopeful. Roger Roots, who's there just as a paralegal, they won't let him on as an attorney, is helping Ryan Bundy, and he's optimistic about it. He says it's going well. So that's my end of the show Bundy update. Back to you folks. I want to talk about this. We were talking about it before the break about indigenous people, so-called indigenous people. They all came from somewhere at some time, So, but you've written a fascinating book, and again, it was one of those hard books to read, Mike, about the Indian Wars in the West. Give a little promo for your book, because I was very impressed with it.
Well, it's really rather simple. I had grown up with the typical narrative of Indians all good, white men all bad, and I knew there was a lot of BS in that. And I've always had a nose for controversy in books. I'm not one to just keep writing the same old drivel. Time and time again, the Battle of Gettysburg is a good example. And so I knew very well where I was going with this book, unlike Hellstorm. And a lot of people say it's the fairest book on the Indian Wars ever written. And some people say it's all white man's perspective. But the fact is, the people who want to make the Indians some sort of peaceful, pastoral, philosophical, deeply religious. Savages. Yes, the noble savage thing. I know where they're coming from, and generally it's a Jewish-inspired agenda. And in other words, to cut right to the chase, if they were peaceful, pastoral, philosophical, deeply religious, non-combative, pacifists, then what does that make the white man look like who defeated them in war? It makes us look like the ogres, the bad guys, the evil whites, of course, who destroyed this magnificent civilization. And that's it in a nutshell. That's the narrative we've been fed for the last, since the 1960s with Little Big Man movies like that. Basically, what Scalp Dance does is reset the table on this. And in the voices of the people themselves, it tells the story as well as I could possibly tell it through the people who experienced it. Women who were raped by the Indians, who were made their slaves by the Indians, men who witnessed torture of captives, Indian captives. It also talks about how war really played out with the American Indian, and it wasn't the little big man approach. It wasn't the Dances with Wolves approach. It was a terrible, vicious, bloody, sadistic war. It wasn't all Indians doing it either. White men participated in a lot of this stuff. But
here's my question about the Indian Wars. Okay, the Indian Wars are going on at the end of the Civil War era. Am I right? Do I have the time frame right?
Yeah, generally the ones on the plains. Yeah.
Okay, the plains. Okay, and so we have this. To me, the Union generals were sociopaths. So anyone that would order the scorched earth policy against Southerners, I call sociopaths.
Okay.
And so I'm wondering if was there any, could it prevent, I know we can't go back in time, but do the Indians have a legitimate gripe against us?
No, because these are modern Indians. They don't any more than modern blacks have an argument against us as slave owners or descendants of slave owners. No, because at the time, the Indians back then who lost that war for America were not complaining. They knew exactly what was going on. They had been doing it to other smaller tribes before we ever showed up. Big tribes, taking over little tribes, chasing them out. The Sioux were chased out of Minnesota, Wisconsin by the Ojibwe and Potawatomis and the woodland tribes. The Sioux, in turn, chased out the Crow and the Shoshone. and the Shoshone in turn, so on. We've got this circle going.
So warfare was their lifestyle.
Yes, that was their cup of tea, their forte. And so they understood very well what was going on when the white man showed up, because suddenly here was even a bigger bully who came along. And some of those Indians who had been chased out by the Sioux and the Cheyenne and the Arapaho, they hitched their wagon to this great big white bully who came along in hopes that he could get their land back for them. And so you have the spectacle of Indians fighting Indians.
Right. The Crow fought with Custer.
Yes, of course, and the Shoshone and Pawnee, because they had been treated pretty roughly by the Cheyenne and the Sioux. And so, it's moderns who really mess up history mostly, who want to reinterpret history, especially, of course, World War II. And that's the story of Hellstorm. But yes, also in the 19th century America and the Civil War as well. It's always being twisted and turned for people to satisfy their particular agenda. Alex, I'm sorry, we're talking totally America stuff here, but I know Alex is a well-studied man, and he's probably following every word, unless he's gone to sleep. Are you still there, Alex?
Of course I'm here. Of course.
Yes. But
we were talking about the Mapuche earlier, another indigenous people where he lives. So I'm sure this is a familiar tale.
Yeah, and go ahead, Alex.
No, one. Just an interesting note. I was saying, as I worked in the south of Chile as a logistic manager for a while, and this is like 3 years ago. And I was staying in a hotel in the south of Chile, and the owneress, the lady who owned the hotel, she said, "No, it's like the Mapuche and the Germans, they get together against us." That's really weird.
Wow.
It's like the German. They have something with the Mapuches. This was what this lady's comment was. So I don't know what to take from this, but it was her comment.
Hey.
Well, you're bringing up an interesting point, Alex, that I've been thinking lately. And so we have these people that, publisher of the newspaper I work for, he has a different thing about this. He kind of pissed everybody off, if you'll pardon my English, last week by saying that this Indian reservation is one of the biggest slums in America. It's filthy, like it rivals black slums.
It is.
Man, people went. Yeah. He didn't say they did it. He said the government did it. The government created these slums, and of course, people went berserk. But my point is, should we be creating alliances with non-white people now? Because without the whites, civilization, goes away. And so they know that they have it, some people know. Should we be building alliances?
Well, I agree with you. But the funny thing is that in Valdivia, as you mentioned earlier, the Dutch actually, we were there 150 years before the Germans even got there. And we had this fight with the Eternal Spanish. And what the Dutch did, they already back then had an alliance with the Mapuches against the Spanish. So that's quite interesting.
Wow.
That's why the Chilean flag has got the Dutch colors, because once they went independent, Holland, of course, was the first country to recognize their independence. That's why the Chilean flag looks very much like the Texan flag. It's almost the same. And that's why.
Let me throw in here. I want to answer Patricia's
okay, Mike, go ahead.
Question. No, I suggest we don't strike any alliances with any other peoples. We're strong enough to do it on our own. And all we're doing basically is trying to go through the same thing. We're going to see things differently. Take blacks and whites and reds and browns and put them together. We're going to see the future differently, no matter what. In another sense, of course, I don't believe in hurting any peoples. I would love to see everyone have their own place in the sun. But we shouldn't spend 1 ounce of our energy trying to make alliances with other people who just have different outlooks on life and see the world differently and see the future especially differently. Besides, once we get our act together, believe me, we've got more than enough talent, energy to do exactly what we want to do. Once we get it together, we're not going to be like this forever. This is the bad old days. Although it's still a very exciting time to be a part of in this revolution, This is going to be known as the bad time. But unlike our parents, the so-called greatest generation, our grandparents
The
and our
greatest
parents.
TV watchers.
Yes, the people who went off and fought supposedly the good war. No, they are the worst generation. I don't care. Some people have said, well, wait a minute. Now, you got to give the white people some credit. They went off and fought. No. I'm not going to give them any credit at all. They were too stupid to realize that they were fighting their own kind, who was in essence fighting for them. I'm talking about the Germans. Yes, I'm talking about Nazi Germany. And I'm talking about fascist Italy and other nations who joined with them. They were our worst generation. That's why we're in the situation we are right now, because they came back home to America and fell promptly asleep. They wanted 2 cars in the garage, they wanted chicken, and they wanted a nice wife and kids, and they got it. Now it's up to us. We're the greatest generation. We're the ones that are now awake. We are the ones that are going to turn this train wreck around. You're looking at each other, are the greatest generation. I'm not saying I'm great. I'm just saying people like you guys are great because of what you're doing. Your selfless nature.
Mike, you must hang out with Mike Walsh. He's a cheerleader like this too. John, weigh in on this. Do you think that we should have alliances with non-whites? Do you think we should, because they're being used by the Jews. They're victims of the Jews as much as we are.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there has to be a different way of doing it that has been done. And I'm as befuddled as anyone to figure out how to how should I say, deal reasonably with other races. Because what has transpired in recent years in the United States, this Black Lives Matter crap, where these criminals are being turned into saints.
Turned into untouchables.
And martyrs. And it's like, there's no talking to Black people about this. This is like trying to talk to a Jew about the Holocaust. Forget it. You're just not going to be able to do it. It's because their minds are made up. So
yeah, that's why when you run into somebody like Tom,
conditions are so ripe for a race war. It's like, the whites have hardened up and say we can't put up with any more of this. When you read a few Colin Flaherty books about the knockout game and the way blacks are treating whites in the inner cities, it's like it'll make your blood boil. And then the blacks, of course, are being paid to go out and burn down their towns by these rich Jews from overseas. So we're being kindled into something so they can impose martial law and an increased police presence. And that's what really worries me about Donald Trump. When he starts talking about we're going to have a more efficient military, I'm thinking, how much more efficient do we want our military to be? Because, we're going around the world just slaughtering people left and right in a dozen countries around the world.
Oh,
and
and as bad as that is, John, it's when you see tanks on the streets in America and we call this freedom. I'm like, holy cow.
That whole 9/11 thing, where the attitude of America was allowed to be changed into a militaristic kind of situation, is really, and that whole generation is followed by these fairy tales that have been spun about 9/11 and Osama bin Laden, and it's they teach this stuff in schools, and now to try to explain to an ordinary young person who doesn't have alert parents about what was really going on, it becomes a virtual impossibility.
Well, I think, I told you folks last week, I don't know if we're on a show or whatever, but I was talking with one of the gals at the bank, and she was away. She says, yeah, even she said, even that shooting in Florida wasn't real. I mean, there are people waking up on Main Street. So 9/11 seems to be one of the biggest catalysts. When I ask them what woke you up, they say 9/11.
Yeah, I hope so.
Patricia, sometimes it must seem like that you're just talking to the ether, that you're just banging your vocal cords for no reason at all. Yeah, you must, and John certainly he must, and Alex. Sometimes it may seem, however, you never know who's listening out there, what kind of mind you might change just by a certain comment you might make or a word. And it's working, guys. I got to tell you, it is working. I have been around long enough. I haven't been around as long as John, I don't think. But I can see the change. I can see the difference. It's coming with the speed of light, too. It is happening very, very quickly.
Well, I think it's parallel to the way the Jews are trying to put a lid on everything. Alex, I've got to ask you, how do people in South America perceive 9/11?
Hoax.
Oh, they recognize it as a hoax.
Yeah,
all
well,
over
the people.
all over the world, people do.
Yeah, and I try to myself. I try to keep things simple. You know, it's not like, oh, was it a yellow or blue plane, no plane, whatever.
Yeah.
I say, well, building number 7. That's it. It's like the Holocaust has got a building number 7 as well. It's the plague in Auschwitz. They went from 3.5. What was it? Like 3.5 to 1.5 million or something. Yeah. 4 million to 1.5 million. That for me is another building 7 for the Holocaust. And I'm not going to get into diesel chambers, gas chambers. No, I'll leave it at that. Over with discussion is because it's a bullshit story. That 6 million figure, and we have to keep things simple because what the Jews do, they create groups like who was there planes or no planes and
right.
And
that the 9/11 truth movement was infiltrated from day one.
Yeah. Hey, another thing, but quickly, Patricia, I'm getting off. On topic what you guys went on before. My opinion is that the next black thug that's going to be nationalized on television has a surname called Luther. It probably is going to be Leroy Luther because you already had the King guy in 1991.
Rodney King, yes.
Rodney King. Then you had Trevor Martin a few years ago. So the last one, and they're all going to show these films, Martin Luther King. So they're probably going to wait or produce some little kid soon as Luther. Martin Luther King.
Well, that's an interesting observation, but I bet you're right about that. Did anybody ever think of that?
I didn't really understand the comment.
He said Martin Luther King. So we've had Rodney King, we've had Trevor Martin, So the next one has to have a Luther in his name, either first name or last name. That's really a brilliant observation, and only a linguist would probably notice that. Good work, Alex.
Well,
if it only comes true, then...
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I think that's great that people around the world know that 9/11 was a complete hoax, so that gives hope.
You guys are all three fairly busy people, or extremely busy people, I suppose. I don't know if you ever get a chance to check out some of the message boards, some of the social media message boards. We own the message boards. You talk about a new Jewish article on some piece of garbage about the so-called Holocaust appearing. I mean, it's a daily event on some of the message boards. I'm talking about the news services, by the way. Well, you go on there, and the first hint of something coming up, like they're arresting a new 95-year-old camp guard, some kid back then, you got our people all over that, pointing out the inconsistencies and the incongruity of the whole damn thing. And so we have taken over. I'm just astounded by the sophistication of so many of these people and the knowledge. They're way ahead of the game. And we have won that war. Now it's us to seek power. There are so many people out there by the millions that I'm convinced that they do understand that it's a false narrative. History has been taken over by the wrong people for its own purposes. They understand that. Now it's just a matter of basically, I think, getting into the streets. You know, this takeover of Europe, this invasion of the dark peoples in Europe, that came pretty quickly. Now, that's been going on, by the way, since World War II, though. This isn't something that just happened.
Yeah.
In fact, Alex is living. Alex, for instance, he's an expat. He's in Chile because he could no longer survive in modern-day multicultural Holland.
Is
So it's been going on.
Is that what caused you to want to leave?
Sorry? No, well, of course, it's Holland is, of course, since the 90s. I just my gut feeling while I left, but it's of course a very Marxist place. I mean, all these immigrants get privileges, and the Dutch people are taxed to death, and it's the same game all over.
Same story. Canada's the same way. Australia and New Zealand the same way. They're taking over every Anglo-Saxon nation.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop just there. When I came to Chile in '99, I remember till 2001, I never ever saw a black person, never in Chile. Then these Jews opened the floodgates, and you go to the center of Santiago now, it's filled with people from Haiti, Somalians, and
You're kidding
Black
me.
Colombians. Yes, but it's they reckon it's 30,000 people. And these people, of course, as I had to fight for my permanent residency, show papers, go through the red tape and all that. And these people come from the companionway of the plane, permanent residency. The Haitians, because these Jews are working at it as well.
Oh
and
yes, I know. I know Africans when they. I used to have a neighbor. Well, she's still a neighbor, even though I'm not living in Nevada at this moment. She's from Bulgaria. Her and her husband are Bulgarians. They're blonde white people from Bulgaria, and it cost them $10,000 each in about 5 years of their time to get into the U.S. And so she's talking to someone at the casino where she works, this black woman from some African country, and says, "Oh, really? Oh, how'd you get it? Oh, no, they just gave us some tickets at the embassy, and then when we got here, we had 2 months living expenses, and they helped us with a job and all that kind of stuff."
Exactly right. So they're not sleeping, these Jews. And when I was in Peru, I had this neighbor, a couple of young Argentinians, and I told them about this. I told them about it. I said, the center of Santiago is just filled with, and it's unstoppable. And then what these blacks do as well, because they love pushing prams. Like they're 20 years old, they're going to have like 5 or 8 kids or something. And this girl said it's the same is happening in Argentina. They're filling, because the Jews are putting all the chips on the table now. They want to, it's the fifth colony all over the place, because they know Chile and Argentina, especially Argentina, is pretty much a very white country.
Oh my gosh! Now how many Somalians do you think they've shipped into China? Because China is way too Chinese. We all know that.
Oh, I don't think any. But the thing is, of course, I speak a lot with taxi drivers as well, and these taxi drivers, a lot of them said, and these immigrants get more rights. It's same in Holland, more rights than we have. They get housing and all this. They're doing it all over the planet.
Oh, in Canada, a Pakistani immigrant or any immigrant gets more benefits than a Canadian war veteran.
Of course, yes, of course.
I know it's just it's Jew control everywhere. So, John, you got a comment about this?
Well, there's 40,000 Somalians who've been relocated to Minneapolis, and they've had to hire Somali police the crime has skyrocketed. These are savages who they have transplanted in Middle America to destroy the fabric of America.
Well, I was shocked because when I first came to Nebraska, the very first week I was here, I came on a Friday. Monday morning, I went up to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I was like stunned by how many Somalis and Arab women in their, burqas and stuff that I saw in Sioux Falls. That what they're doing is they're flooding them into these second cities, these smaller cities, because they would just get lost in Las Vegas. But they stand out and they're able to change the smaller communities much faster, and that's why they're flooding those areas. I went into the grocery store. Oops, are we having technical difficulties?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, it's hard to hear.
Okay, well, we must be hitting a nerve here. I can hear you guys fine.
It's just garbled. It's garbled. It's yeah. I can.
Okay, let me ask my producer how bad it is. Okay. Well, we're
Can you guys all hear me, gals and guys?
I can hear you. Like hitting us because we've got about 4 minutes.
You have to do
Okay. What I could do is I can hang up for a second and dial everybody back. If you think we should do that, I can do that.
I couldn't hear that.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm hanging up from everybody. Hold on. And I'm going to dial everybody back and see how we do. Okay, hang up. Okay, and then I'm trying to work out this technical glitch right now. And so I'm going to add people back in for our last 5 minutes together and see how this goes. There we go. I didn't touch anything. So I guess I got another website I can.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
You're back, John. How you doing? Can you hear us now?
I'm back.
Okay, Mike's back.
Good.
How about you, Alex?
I'm here, yes, of course.
A little bit garbled yet on your end, but sometimes that straightens out in a couple of minutes. So we got about 3 minutes. So I want everybody to tell.
Well, let me say this about the same.
Go ahead, Mike. Let me say this.
I cannot hardly understand you, Trish. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Here, I'll type it in. Okay. Okay.
No, we're lost. Hey.
But they're saying on our side, Alex sounds bad. I sound okay.
You can hear me
Everybody
fine?
sounds garbled to me.
Okay.
Let me say this.
Okay.
Anything done can be.
That's right. Oh, now I'm fading. Well, it's okay. We only got like another minute to go, so we're okay. We're gonna live with this. Damn Skype, he says. Okay. No problem. Well.
Yeah, me too.
Listen, Mike, I want everybody to know, Scalp Dance is the book that I've really loved of yours.